When a small-town high school goes into lockdown, 16-year-old Mia Brooks vanishes without a trace. For years, theories swirl. Was it a kidnapping, a runaway, or something darker? Then, during renovations, workers find her student ID behind a rusted air vent in a sealed-off wing. What they uncover next forces the town to relive its worst nightmare. It was 9:12 a.m. when Ridgewood High went into lockdown. The fire alarm had gone off first, a shrill interruption during second-period chemistry, and just minutes later, the school's intercom crackled with a voice declaring an active shooter alert. Teachers followed protocol immediately. Doors were locked, lights were shut off. Students were ordered to hide in corners, behind desks, under lab tables. Silence fell across the building except for distant sirens and the occasional stomp of police boots in the hallway. In room 204, 16-year-old Mia Brooks had been seated near the back. Her phone records would later show she had just opened a text from her friend asking if she wanted to ditch lunch and walk downtown. That text remained unread. When the all-clear was given at 10:36 a.m. and students were slowly evacuated classroom by classroom, everyone in room 204 stepped into the hallway, except Mia. At first, her absence was brushed off. Some thought she had snuck out during the confusion. Others figured she had panicked and hidden elsewhere. But when roll call confirmed she hadn't been accounted for, her chemistry teacher reported it to the school office. An announcement was made asking Mia to come forward. She didn't. Security footage was immediately reviewed. Every hallway camera, every exit, every stairwell. But around the same time the lockdown began, the camera system experienced a partial failure. Several feeds glitched out for nearly 20 minutes. What footage was recovered showed Mia entering the building at 7:49 a.m. with a red backpack and coffee in hand. There was no footage of her leaving. Her phone was found still inside her locker. It was unlocked. The last activity was an unfinished text to her mother, time-stamped 9:11 a.m., that simply read, "We're going into LO." Her backpack, lunch, and jacket were all inside as well. No sign of struggle. No blood. No note. No clue. By 3 p.m., her parents were at the school. Police were already involved. A full sweep of the building was conducted. Every bathroom, closet, and crawl space was searched. Dogs were brought in. Nothing. Within 24 hours, the media caught wind of the story. A girl vanishing during a school lockdown was unheard of. Investigators were baffled. The school had been locked from the inside. All doors were under watch. No one saw her leave. But somehow, she was gone. Mia's disappearance dominated the local news for weeks. Her face was on every telephone pole and gas station door within 50 miles of Ridgewood. Candlelight vigils were held on the football field. Volunteers combed the woods behind the school. Helicopters scanned the area for heat signatures. But as days turned to weeks and weeks turned into months, no new evidence surfaced. The school returned to its regular schedule. Students took exams. Teachers stopped mentioning her name. The media moved on. But her family didn't. Her parents, Laura and David Brooks, refused to accept the silence. They hired private investigators. They sat through every police update, no matter how minor. They knocked on doors, printed flyers, and followed up on every anonymous tip, no matter how ridiculous. One caller said Mia had been spotted at a gas station in Ohio. Another claimed she was being held in a trailer park 2 counties over. Police checked. Nothing. Every time hope flared, it was crushed hours later. Mia's room remained untouched. Her calendar still marked the date of her chemistry exam. Her makeup sat beside her mirror. Her mother refused to box up her clothes. Her father installed a second lock on the front door. They kept the porch light on every night, just in case she walked back through the gate. The front lawn grew brown under the weight of weather-worn missing posters. At school, her friends tried to move on. Some succeeded. Others carried guilt, wondering if they had missed something that morning. Had she said something strange, seemed nervous? But no one remembered anything. By the time senior year rolled around, the school district quietly removed the last of the missing flyers still taped near the gym entrance. Administrators encouraged students to focus on the future. Theories filled the internet. Some believed she ran away. Others said she was abducted by someone hiding inside the school. One rumor claimed she faked the whole thing to escape abuse. Another insisted she was dead and buried beneath the gymnasium floor. The town split into believers and skeptics, but the one question no one could answer remained unchanged. How does a girl vanish from a locked school during a monitored lockdown without leaving a single trace? 7 years passed. The Brooks family never moved, never changed their number, never stopped hoping. It was nearly 7 years to the day since Mia Brooks vanished when construction crews were sent to Ridgewood High to begin renovations on the disused West Wing. The section had been closed off for years due to water damage and asbestos concerns. It had been part of the original building built in the 1950s, and most students had never even stepped inside it. The plan was to gut it completely and turn it into new science labs. On the third day of demolition, a crew working near the old chemistry storage room pried open a rusted wall vent about 2 feet off the ground. Inside, they found debris: old candy wrappers, dead insects, crumpled worksheets. But behind the mess, wedged against the back of the metal duct, was a plastic ID card. It was scratched and yellowed, but still legible. The name read Mia Brooks. The photo showed her smiling in a gray hoodie. Workers called the foreman. The foreman called the school office. Within an hour, police were on site. Forensics confirmed the card hadn't been moved or handled in years. Dust patterns inside the vent matched untouched aging. Nothing had been placed there recently. Alongside the ID was a broken chain with a silver pendant, the same one Mia had been wearing in the photo found on her missing person poster. That was enough to reopen the case officially. Detectives began examining the area more closely. The vent was part of an old duct system no longer in use. It connected to a crawl space behind the wall, narrow and barely wide enough for a teenager to squeeze into. When police removed more of the drywall, they found something else: scratch marks. Faint at first, then deeper, more frantic. A flashlight revealed long gouges carved directly into the metal surface of the vent shaft. Near the bottom, barely visible under layers of dust, a word had been etched again and again in shaking, uneven strokes. Help. No bones, no remains, no signs of clothing. But the implication was clear. Someone, very likely Mia, had been inside that space, and she had tried to get out. Investigators immediately sealed off the area and began coordinating with structural engineers to map the entire crawl space system. For the first time in years, Ridgewood police had something real, something physical. And what it suggested was far worse than anyone had expected. The sealed-off West Wing had been closed the morning after Mia disappeared. Officially, the reason given was mold exposure, but no health inspection records could be found to confirm it. Investigators pulled maintenance logs from the week of the lockdown. Pages were missing. The logbook jumped from March 3rd to March 7th with no entries in between. The custodian assigned to that wing at the time, Harold Dent, had died of a heart attack in 2019. He had worked at Ridgewood for over 30 years. His personnel file showed no complaints and no disciplinary actions. But he was the only staff member with access to the old basement hatch behind the chemistry prep room. That hatch led to the same crawl space system where Mia's ID was found. Detectives interviewed staff who had been present during the renovation announcement back in 2018. Most remembered little. But one former substitute teacher, Melissa Hanley, contacted police after hearing about the ID discovery on the news. She said that 2 days after the lockdown, she had been assigned to room 203. While walking to the staff bathroom, she noticed something odd. A narrow maintenance door in the hallway, one she had never seen before, was slightly open. Inside was darkness and a metallic smell. Before she could investigate, the principal saw her and told her to return to class. That same door was welded shut a week later. Blueprints of the school revealed inconsistencies. One version, dated 1993, showed a small utility room behind the science wing. Another, filed in 2007, showed nothing there at all. The space had been erased on paper. When engineers scanned the walls with thermal imaging, they found gaps, dead zones in the layout where no student or teacher had entered in over a decade. Police now believe Mia may have fled into the vent system during the lockdown, either to escape what she thought was a threat or because she saw something that terrified her. She could have entered through the old hatch and become trapped. Whether someone helped seal the wing afterward, or whether she was simply forgotten, is still unclear. The word help carved into metal remains the most disturbing detail. It wasn't a message left casually. It was scratched repeatedly, deeply, until her fingers bled or broke or gave out. The case is now officially reclassified as a suspicious death. Multiple officials from Ridgewood High are under review, and the Brooks family has finally been given the answer they feared most. She never left the school.